Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Betty Chen. TSMC Chairman Mark Liu has declared his intention to resign from his position following the 2024 annual shareholders meeting, a revelation that has stunned the semiconductor industry. This transition in TSMC's top management raises questions about potential significant shifts in its U.S. factory investment strategy. Additionally, it prompts inquiry into the role semiconductors will play in a global economy in 2024. Joining us today are Kristy Tsun Tzu Hsu, ASEAN Studies Center Director, Chung-Hua Institution for Economic Research, Taiwan, and Konrad Young, former TSMC R&D Director, Lead Agile X Accelerator founding partner. A warm welcome to both of you on the show. Firstly, we observed that TSMC unexpectedly announced the retirement of Chairman Mark Liu, with President C.C. Wei set to succeed him as the next chairman. The timing of this announcement, made just before Taiwan's elections, has indeed sparked numerous speculations. So originally, it was Mark Liu who decided to establish the factory in the United States, with his replacement imminent. So we just want to know, what are the crucial implications of changing the decision maker behind the move? Professor Young.
Well, I think the decision to go to U.S. Is actually, from my viewpoint, is not just decided by Mark himself. I think he probably has no choice, but has to go to U.S. It's forced by, I guess, it's related to the U.S. government's pressure, because there's a geopolitical risk for putting all the semiconductor, especially advanced technology, in Taiwan. So they definitely need to have a risk management plan. So TSMC was asked to go to US without much choice, basically. So Mark just happened to be a chairman, so he played the role of going to the toward the external source. So he has to make that decision anyway.
What about Director Hsu? What do you think of the timing of his announcement about retiring before the elections?
Well, I would say that we would refrain from making speculation, but as Professor Young has mentioned, TSMC as a global company actually has not much choice. And for that timing for Mark to announce his retirement probably relates to his personal plan and also to other factors. But I don't think that even there is a new chairman or a new government in the after the November election, TSMC is not strategically or significantly change his plan in the U.S. because U.S. is still his major market. He has to have some operations in that largest market to TSMC.
TSMC seems to be rethinking its U.S. investment strategy, and also the timing of the announcement of Mark Liu's retirement strategically before Taiwan's elections, and also close proximity to the 2024 U.S. presidential elections has suggested possible strategic move. So how is this move related to the increasingly, you can say, complicated or intricate political landscape between Taiwan and the U.S. in 2024? Professor Young.
I'm not quite sure TSMC is trying to send any message. Again, maybe it's only Mark's own decision to retire. Well, he is already entering the retirement age anyway. So I guess the decision going to U.S. manufacturing, it was continuous going on. It won't be very smooth as time goes also. It is very difficult to do manufacturing in U.S. As a whole. I happen to have some chance working in U.S. for a long time. So I understand it's not easy to do a manufacturing in U.S. In general. So it's just try to minimize the less impact for TSMC, and TSMC go to U.S. Again, since it has no choice, just to make the best out of it. So it will be a good lesson for Taiwanese company anyway, because in general, Taiwanese company going overseas to do a manufacturing is a very difficult task. TSMC has done that in 2000, early 2000. The WaferTech case is not very, very successful. So there's no reason why Arizona accidentally will make it become very successful. It will take a while for TSMC to adjust to U.S. Culture. I think the system approach with less people involved will have to be, hopefully will help TSMC to come out with a much better international company.
So Professor Yang just talked about his personal connection with Mark Liu. Probably this is just his personal choice to step out at this moment. Director Hsu, do you think is there any political implication regarding his retirement? It's just purely a personal decision?
Again, I don't know, but I think for Mark Liu, he has already done a great job in terms of bringing TSMC to the global stage, and also in terms of enlarging TSMC's market valuation and also its footprints in the world. So I think in that regard, we should focus more on his achievement instead of all this speculation.
Exactly. Considering the current lead of former President Trump in a swing state for the year in the U.S. election, so the question is, if Trump is re-elected, what kind of new challenge will emerge when it comes to TSMC's factory in the United States? Director Hsu.
Yes, there have been a lot of speculation and discussion because this election is not about the United States itself. It also involves a lot of other countries. So if Trump is going to run and win the election, and he may very likely remove some of Biden's initiative, and also he may come with a lot of new policies, including economic policy, climate policy, as well as energy policy. For example, his camp earlier just announced that they are going to review Biden's climate and energy policy, particularly the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA. We know that the IRA is part of Trump's key achievement because it offers a lot of incentive not only to U.S. consumers but only to foreign investors, and so that they will buy, for example, they will be encouraged to buy American car with components and parts made in the U.S. or in its FTA trading partners, such as Mexico. So if Trump is going to remove that kind of IRA benefits, it will definitely cause a lot of problem to all these domestic as well as foreign investment going to the U.S. and Mexico in that area, the electric vehicle.
But one thing we know about Trump is that he is unpredictable.
Yes.
Professor Yang, what's your take on this if he becomes president again?
Well, I definitely agree. Trump is just unpredictable. Anything is possible, whatever happening. But in general, the general policy for U.S. to move manufacturing is for the benefit to reduction of the unemployment. Manufacturing going to U.S. I think is a policy for all parties, both parties. So that will still put a pressure for TSMC to continue their investment in U.S. There's no doubt about it, and they will help also the U.S. company like Intel to continue improve their manufacturing. So the trend is how. The issue is how TSMC is going to survive or compete much better, minimize the cost increase, and then to still have enough benefit for doing manufacturing in U.S. That's the challenge. I think it's very difficult to change the outside, the environment, but what you can do is do your best to do in this kind of environment, whatever change, make it the best out of it. That's one of my suggestion to TSMC. Yeah.
So a quick follow-up question. During Trump's first term, will he keep saying like make America great again or America first? He has this kind of protectionist mentality. How will that kind of protectionism and mentality affect TSMC if he gets elected?
Trump
Please.
is by heart a protectionist. There's no doubt about that. He is the one who launched the 301 trade war with China. And it is reported that Trump was the president in the United States history that has added and put new tariffs to American imports in nearly a century. So he already mentioned that earlier, that if he is going to win the election, he is going to put 10% of cross-the-border tariff to all products coming to the United States. And therefore, it's going to be a disaster, not only for domestic market, but also for all exporting countries. For that, it's going to hurt a lot of exporting countries, and also because it's going to have a more protectionist approach, it's going to change probably the current trade relations between the United States and all other major trading partners too.
Definitely. So we have to keep watching what's going to
Yes.
happen next. TSMC, as we have talked about it, well, we know that they're diversifying. So they also have a plant in Japan. So TSMC's Kumamoto plant in Japan is expected to be completed in February and start mass production by the end of the year. Despite starting construction later than the Arizona plant in the United States, it's now ahead of schedule. So does this indicate a longer adjustment period needed between the U.S. and TSMC, Professor Young?
Well, Japan is very different from U.S., especially in terms of the manufacturing culture. Also, Japan went through almost 30 years downturn. They are a lot more humble than before. So that's why for this TSMC's plan in Japan, you see a lot of good things from Japanese government. So that and also there are a lot of support, not only the government but also the enterprise. A lot of company also want TSMC to go there. So I think the situation in Japan is very different from U.S. I think if TSMC can be successful in overseas manufacturing, I think Japan will be probably the top possibility.
So, Director
yeah,
Hsu?
I will add to that. It also involves the strategy or attitude of the host economy or the host country. And Japan government has a grand strategy to bring back the semiconductor, and it has been very supportive, and also it has been generous in providing already all this subsidy to all these applicant company. Not only TSMC, but also several other Taiwanese companies also were granted that kind of benefits. But for the U.S., it's very slow. We understand that under the CHIPS Act in the U.S., they're being around more than 50 billions of US dollars in terms of subsidy and tax breaks and all this kind of benefit. But so far, the US administration has been very slow in deciding that kind of benefit. We heard from the news that there are only 2 companies already confirmed that they are going to have the benefit. That does not include TSMC. That does not include Intel. And therefore, whether TSMC and Intel are going to have that kind of benefits and how much is that is still very uncertain. So I think that is another a challenge for TSMC to invest in the US, but it's totally different situation in Japan.
According to a report by SEMI, the Global Semiconductor Industry Association, from 2022 to 2024, there are plans for 82 new facilities to start operations, with 11 and 42 scheduled for 2023 and 2024 respectively, including production lines for 4-inch to 12-inch wafers. So, Professor Young, how do you view the role of the development of semiconductor for the year 2024?
The semiconductor, the coming years, I think AI definitely is one of the emerging and then the fast-growing segment. And unfortunately, the AI part require advanced technology. So all the fab build up is not, mostly are not for the advanced technology. So they are still using for others. But I think it would all this fab. I think eventually is going to be. I will guess it will be oversupply for a period of after a while. But but every country is a bit different. China has its own unique market situation. The other non-China global market will change a lot. All depends on what different segment has a different kind of result. So you will see a kind of a mixed combination of the oversupply or undersupply, or depends on what area you are looking at.
So talking about situation, you just mentioned China. So in addition to the ongoing significant impact of the semiconductor industry on the global economic in 2024, the global policy of increasing interest rates over the past year and a half is now ending. And the U.S. Federal Reserve abruptly shifted its stance in December, transitioning from hawkish to dovish, primarily influenced by the slowdown in inflation. So Director Hsu, in your opinion, which industries in Taiwan will be greatly impacted by the easing of inflation?
Because the U.S. is still the world's largest economy, and it turned to be Taiwan's second largest market in the past few years, and then second largest destination for our investment. And last year, 2023, it jumped to number one because of TSMC's investment in the U.S. And therefore, U.S. stops to increasing interest rate or even cut interest rate will give a boost to its domestic demand. And it will help a lot of industry here in Taiwan, also our neighboring country. And this includes semiconductor, machinery, electronics, and also some others. And as for Taiwanese investment going to the U.S., definitely it will be continuing because the domestic market is there, and TSMC and other pilots have already been there. And therefore, we will see a supply chain gradually, maybe slowly, but gradually relocating from Taiwan to the U.S. This is going to be the trend for 2024 and probably years beyond that.
So going back to you, Professor Yang, you talk about the oversupply or maybe the undersupply in a global supply chain, and we also understand the importance of restructuring the supply chain. Any suggestions? What should we do in 2024? How to strike a balance?
It's very difficult to adjust the supply chain in semiconductor because of building a fab normally take years. All the equipment take a long time. So I will say it will eventually get to the equilibrium situation, but it's not easy to predict what will happen. But I believe the build-up of the fab during this pandemic years is going to create some problem for some company. Typically, especially the second tier, third tier company, they might facing more difficult competition. In general, in the past history, if facing this oversupply issue, TSMC will be the last company to face that issue because most of customer will go to TSMC first before they couldn't, unless they couldn't get they don't need anything. So I would say TSMC will probably still stay strong during this period of time.
So in 2023, Taiwanese investments in the U.S. and Germany exceeded those in China, signifying a shift in investment trends, primarily influenced by TSMC's strategic decisions. And this development, coupled with an increasing focus on Southeast Asian regions like Penang, Malaysia, for electronics manufacturing, suggests a potential pivotal movement for Taiwan's economy. Director Hsu, what implication does this trend hold?
The Southeast Asia, as you mentioned, and China have long been Taiwan's close trading partner, as well as major destination for our outbound investment for more than 3 decades. And therefore, we have developed very close relation to both regions. And in the past few years, Taiwanese company may appear to a bit shift away from China to Southeast Asia because they are adopting a new strategy. Previously, Taiwanese company used to establish smaller production base in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, in Thailand, complementary to their major production base in China. And all these production base produce older models or less complicated model. However, in the past few years, because of the request of their clients, they have enhanced their bases in Southeast Asia. And therefore, right now, we see this decoupling of this supply chain, also a division of labors between Southeast Asia and China. And Southeast Asia are no more complementary to China. Right now, they have different operations aiming for different purpose for the business.
So talking about China, we also understand that China is rapidly developing its semiconductors. Professor Young, how do you see the development of China's efforts in boosting the semiconductor industry?
I mentioned earlier, China is very unique because it has a big enough market. The supply chain can be based on their own. They can close the door, develop whatever
they can do whatever
they want
by themselves, right?
But it's very difficult for China to go outside because it was blocked by essentially U.S. So I would say the world in semiconductor will be two different worlds. One is in China, the other is called non-China, which is controlled by mostly U.S. Government. And China itself, they will be. It's going to be very difficult for them to go to advanced technology, but their mature technology, I think, is good enough and then low cost enough to fulfill their need. So there are a lot of new fab was built. Mostly are not advanced technology fab. So I think they will be okay. They have their own demand to support their supply. So I don't think China semiconductor will be just as it is now. It will grow slightly with the stable kind of demand and the supply, but very difficult to go to advanced technology. So it will. A lot of people worry about will challenge TSMC or not, but I don't think that will happen. Okay, because TSMC also very difficult to make a China product also. The recent Huawei's case for 5 nanometer, I think kind of implied that TSMC will be on the watch list of not provide the technology to the China market.
Also, we understand there are some export bans regarding the semiconductor products to China, right?
Yes.
So, what about TSMC's competitive edge? How far do you see that TSMC can still maintain its competitive advantage? Director
I
Hsu.
fully support Dr. Young's comments that TSMC is going to be the leader at least for the next more than 1 decade. Yeah. And for China, it's said that China, because of its ambition to develop its semiconductor, it may develop a well-developed sector of mature sector, but it will be very difficult for China to move to advanced sector, especially whether Biden is going to be the president or Trump is going to be the president. I believe that the U.S.-China relation will maintain even more, to show more difficult for China to continue to access to technology in the U.S.
Quick final answer, Professor Young. How can TSMC maintain its competitive edge?
At this time, TSMC's competitor definitely is not China. I think if there's only one company I worry about will be Samsung, not even Intel. But anyway, I think TSMC has spent almost 30 plus years to develop the infrastructure and ecosystem for foundry. It is very difficult for any other company to take over that. So if TSMC doing their own pace, doing their own way, and find a way to continuous improvement, I think TSMC will stay there. Well, except only on the very unusual situation like China invade Taiwan, and then
fingers
just
crossed,
like
hopefully never.
Trump mentioned is going to bump whatever. So that would be the unusual case.
Yes.
Otherwise, I think TSMC will stay on top for this kind of silicon technology era.
So let's hope that the TSMC will continue to remain the sacred mountain that protects Taiwan. If you like our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching our show today. Stay safe and see you next time.